Granger Ormond Taylor was born on October 7th of 1948 in the logging town of Duncan, British Columbia. He was raised by his mother Grace and a stepfather named Jim Taylor. Granger's own father died in a drowning accident when Granger was an infant. Granger was raised with lots of siblings, including biological and step-siblings. Granger was never what you would call outgoing, but he was friendly enough. In later years, he was 6'3" and 240 pounds, but friends would call him Gentle Ben because of his nature. It was recognized in his early years that Granger had a proclivity for all things mechanical. He was extremely intelligent, but found school studies boring, so he dropped out of school after the 8th grade. He became an auto apprentice shortly thereafter, but only did this for about a year before he decided he had learned enough and started his own business on the property owned by his parents. He soon was engaged in all manner of repairs and creative projects. People were impressed by his skills, so much so that he did quite well for himself, selling his projects to individuals and to the government. At the age of 14, Granger built an automobile, which was displayed at a local museum. In 1969, he found an abandoned locomotive hidden in the forest overgrowth since the Great Depression. He managed to bring it to his parents' property and restore it completely in less than 2 years. The British Columbian government bought the locomotive from Granger and displayed it in the BC Forest Discovery Center. A series of strange events was said to have taken place in the area of Duncan, British Columbia, near the property owned by Granger's parents. On December 31st of 1969, people in the town of Duncan began reporting strange aerial craft in the area. Nurses at the Cowichan District Hospital saw an unidentified object hanging motionless in the sky at about 30 feet. They claimed that there were 2 humanoid figures sitting at the controls and staring back at them through a cockpit window. Reports continued to spill into police over the course of that day and into the next evening. Witnesses included homeowners, teachers, nurses, and pilots. It is apparent that Granger Taylor was fascinated by all of the hype about the UFOs, as he soon thereafter acquired a pilot's license and began working on the restoration of airplanes. In the late 70s, he began obsessing over flying saucers. He built a UFO-shaped office out of spare parts and erected it on his parents' property. He would spend a great deal of time sitting in the office and studying aerodynamics and propulsion theory, trying to solve the riddle of UFO flight. In 1980, Granger began confiding to friends that he was in telepathic communication with extraterrestrials who communicated with him only in thought speak, meaning they spoke directly into his mind and not in person. These extraterrestrials supposedly invited Granger on a voyage through the galaxy. He would be gone for 3.5 years and be taught alien technology. On the evening of November 29, 1980, the town of Duncan was hit by a severe storm, some dubbed the Storm of the Century. Granger had a heartfelt conversation with his stepfather Jim, who had no idea what Granger had planned. Around 6 p.m., he visited Bob's Grill, his favorite diner. He behaved normally, although witnesses say he was ill-dressed for the weather. He paid his check and left, and that was the last earthly sighting of Granger Taylor. At some point the next day, Granger's stepfather Jim noticed that Granger was missing. He began a search of his property, but then discovered a letter from Granger taped on his parents' bedroom door. The letter was brief and stated, "Dear Mother and Father, I have gone away to walk aboard an alien ship. As recurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I am leaving behind all my earthly possessions to you, as I will no longer require the use of any. Please use the instructions in my will as a guide to help. Love, Granger." Despite an extensive search, no trace was found of Granger or the truck he took off in. The date for Granger's return came and went, but he never showed up. In 1986, an artificial crater thought to have been caused by explosives was discovered on a small mountain road overlooking the town of Duncan. Bits of metal debris were strewn about, and they appeared to be from a truck. Police found a couple of bone fragments in the area, and the police concluded that they most likely were the remains of Granger and his truck. Granger's parents kept dynamite on the property for the purpose of clearing brush and removing tree stumps. Police speculate that Granger took some of the dynamite when he left on that fateful night and either accidentally blew himself up or committed suicide because of depression brought on by his inability to solve the UFO propulsion dilemma. However, those who knew Granger said that he most certainly was not suicidal, and if there was an explosion, it was an accident. Police believe Granger's strange note was his way of attempting to ease his parents' pain over the loss of a son. He wanted them to believe he was just away and not deceased. Again, most who knew him do not believe he committed suicide, and they say Granger wholeheartedly believed he was in contact with extraterrestrials. As a final note, the bone fragments found near the site of the explosion were never tested, and subsequently never identified as being those of Granger Taylor. Nor were the metal pieces definitively identified as even being from a truck, let alone the specific one that Granger drove. Is Granger Taylor still out there somewhere? Is he flying high on a grand journey across the universe? Or is he wandering in the mountains, unwilling to return to a civilization that he wanted little to do with? We may never know.